Hello everybody, my name is Zach and today I have a movie pitch for you guys. It's called Top 10 Ways to Survive a Horror Movie. It's a comedy horror survival guide that's an hour and 20 minutes. First, the logline. Tired of screaming at the TV, telling your protagonist, "Go the other way," or "Why the hell would you go back in there?" Well, do I have the movie for you. A horror movie veteran Mike Irons walks through what works, what doesn't, and helps a man survive two deadly killers. The premise. In a world where horror movies are predictable, expert Mike Irons is fed up with victims making the same mistakes. When a small town finds itself in a deadly game against killers, Mike steps in as a guide using his extensive knowledge. Mike coaches Billy for each encounter, debunking myths and providing that with the right guidance, anyone can survive a horror movie. This film is a comedic exploration of survival in cinematic doom. Vision statement. Our movie blends comedy and suspense by making fun of popular horror movie cliches. The film offers a fresh and entertaining twist on survival. Our goal is to show Hollywood directors how not to make a horror movie while not making our audience mad at our characters for stupid decisions. Tone and style. First, the tone. The tone for our movie is light, lighthearted, and comedic, with an approach that makes fun of a horror movie formula. Style. The film features bright, exaggerated visuals and dynamic camera work. Fast-paced editing, pacing for suspense, sharp, witty dialogue, and a soundtrack that blends classic horror scores with upbeat comedic tracks. The world. In a small town called Banff, death by murder is common. While it looks a nice place from the outsider's perspective, it's really a place for killers to go hide. The isolated location, cold environment, and low population makes it a perfect setting. And now we'll get into some of our characters, beginning with Mike Irons. Mike Irons is in his early to mid-40s. He's our horror movie expert, also our main character. His ethnicity is Caucasian. So, Mike Irons has been a horror movie fan since he watched his first horror movie with his dad, Halloween, the original. However, he gets annoyed that every horror movie feels the same. So he travels to Canada to help save people from turning into potential stupid victims to sort of smart survivors. He does this whole breaking the fourth wall to the audience. Next we get into our secondary main character, Billy Scott. Billy is early 30s, his ethnicity is Caucasian, and his role is a Walmart cashier. Billy lives in a normal, boring life, living in a cheap apartment that's falling apart. He has no knowledge about horror movies or how they work. All he wants to do is have an interesting life. Now we get into some of our antagonists, which is Isaac and Travis Damon. First, we'll begin with Isaac. Isaac is in his early 30s. His ethnicity is Caucasian. His role is serial killer. And then we move on to his brother, Travis Damon. Travis is in his late 20s. He's Caucasian as well, and he's also a serial killer. Both Isaac and Travis are brothers. They both didn't grow up in the nicest of families. Their father left them when they were born, and their mother was a drunk. During school, most of their school lives, they were bullied a lot. Once they became adults, they decided to become the Maple Leaf Killers of Canada. Now we get into some of our side characters / cameos. We'll begin with Susan Rose. She is 50, Caucasian, and she plays a spooky ghost. Susan Rose was a loving wife to Thomas Rose. However, one night she was caught cheating on her husband, and so he killed her. Now she's a ghost haunting those who enter her house. Then we'll begin with Thomas Rose. Thomas is in his late 50s. He's Caucasian as well, and he's a husband. Thomas Rose was a construction worker. He had some drinking problems, but he was still a caring husband. However, once he killed his wife, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. Now we'll get into Jackson Chad. He is late 40s. He's African American. He's a friend of Mike's. And he's been Mike's friend since childhood, basically. Then, once he became older, he got a job as a cop and found that what Mike wants to do is a little ridiculous. Then we'll get into Steve. Steve is in his early 30s. He's Korean. He's a real estate agent. And Steve is an average guy selling houses for a living until one day he is terrified after seeing Susan and the Maple Leaf Killers. Now he's so terrified to do anything besides be a manager of McDonald's. Then we'll begin with the plot structure, our first act. The film opens with a pause scene from Scream, the original. Mike, the main character, appears and asks, "Are you tired of seeing characters not running for their lives?" He introduces himself, and he loves for horror movies. Expressing frustration of characters making stupid decisions, we then see Mike bored and miserable at his office job. Later, he searches for real-life horror movie scenarios, I said that wrong, sorry, and finds a small town in Banff, Canada, where people keep dying due to stupid reasons. Excited, Mike quits his job and heads to Banff. In Act 1, we'll have rules 1 through 3. Plot structure Act 2. Mike arrives in Banff, Canada, and is met with fearful or dismissive responses from the locals. One man, Billy Scott, confronts him and narrates the town's haunted history, including the 80s murder of Susan Rose by her husband Thomas. As they walk around, Mike explains the rules for a survival horror movie, surprising Billy with his detailed knowledge. Rule number 4, run out of the front door instead of up the stairs. Billy shares the story of the Maple Leaf Killers. Two bullied brothers return to murder. Mike finds their motivation predictable. Billy surprised and disturbed about what he just said. He decides to invite Mike to hang out at his place for protection and to see if he is right. And Act 2 will have rules 4 through 6 in it. Last one. Plot structure Act 3. As Mike and Billy play cards, the Maple Leaf Killers break in. They fall into a hole. Mike Doug, who explains rule number 7. Think ahead because young killers rush in without a plan. They all have a cat and mouse chase for about 10 minutes. Billy hears a woman screams and wants to save her. Mike interrupts, saying, "Rule number 8. Don't go in if you hear screams near the killer's location. They're most likely already dead. You can cry about it later." Near the climax, the killers trap Mike and Billy, but they get caught in sneers just as the police arrive. Mike explains rule number 10. Plan where you'll run ahead and call the police in advance. 2 months later, Mike and Billy are famous, having published their book, and say it with me, Top 10 Ways to Survive a Horror Movie. The movie ends, and the screen cuts to black. In Act 3, we'll have rules 7 through 10 in it. Now here's the budget. Now it's not exactly accurate to what it could be, but our pre-production will be $55,000. Our production will be $625,000. Our post-production will be $205,000. Our marketing distribution will be $125,000. Our contingency, which is 10%, I believe, is going to be $101,000, giving us a grand total of $1.1 million. Digital marketing strategies. When it comes to entertainment, we'll be interacting with fans for Zoom calls or attending film festivals. The target audience for this movie will be people who enjoy comedy or horror, everyone over the age of 14 and above. Now we could do a bit lower, depending on approval rates. promote for social medias. So we'll do YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. My apologies, and Snapchat too. Thank you everyone for your time. This is my Unbuilt It Studios company. Now, I know that I stuttered a bit, and there are some spelling mistakes. I do apologize. If anyone would like to be in this movie, give me a shout out. Well, not a shout out, but just type in the comments or something like, "Hey, I want to be involved." And if there's any studio that wants to buy this, let me know, and we can make a deal. Anyways, thanks everyone again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.